Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Carrot Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2015 biopic drama. It's titled Woman in Gold. Now, Woman in Gold runs for 1 hour and 49 minutes long. It is directed by Simon Curtis. It is produced by David M. Thompson and Chris Thicker. I think I pronounced his name right. I'm not sure. The script was written by Alexei K. Campbell. The score was done by Martin Phipps and Hans Zimmer. The cinematography by Ross Emery. And it was edited by Peter Lambert. And the stars of the movie are Helen Mirren, Ryan Reynolds, Danielle Bruhl, Katie Holmes, Tatiana Maslany, Max Irons, Charles Dance, Elizabeth McGovern, and Jonathan Pryce. Now, Woman in Gold is a mixture of courtroom drama and a tale of a Holocaust survivor, but this is an intriguing journey of etching through the trenches of World War II and an odd couple seeking justice, starring Helen Mirren and Ryan Reynolds. Now, when you think about the Holocaust, you know what comes to mind? First of all, you think of the heartbreak. You may think of war. You may think of Nazis. You may think of anti-Semitism, Adolf Hitler, and all the gritty stuff that seems to be somewhat plastered into a movie. And the heartbreak and the tears come through in this movie, come through in almost every Holocaust based movies. Now, I'm not saying that this movie is taking things to a lighter approach, because it isn't. We have another different kind of heartbreaking story in this movie, Woman in Gold, that is not really necessarily relates to the war, the divinity within families, the separations, the segregation, the boxed in isolation, and the cold, harsh realities of this ongoing event that took place during World War II. It's there, but it's not as dark, not let alone is it, 100%, like heartbreak. It's not emphasizing on the much more darker elements, even though this is not a lighthearted subject by any means. What we're looking at here is mostly the focus on how not only has it caused heartbreak, divinity, and social anxieties during this period of time, but we're looking at another kind of heartbreak. And this stems from the facts that not only were people's lives separated, but also the fact that people lost valuable stuff that was confiscated by the Nazis during World War II. And many of these valuable, priceless relics that was stolen, heirlooms that was stolen by the Nazis during World War II, well, many of them were eventually taken from them, but was never returned back. Many families were also left with that kind of heartbreak of precious belongings, whether it be a locket, whether it be a pocket chain, a pocket watch, someone's hat, someone's valuables, like a statue or anything, any kind of thing, any kind of personal belongings. Many of them have been stolen by the Nazis during World War II. Many have tried to fight to get it back. Some have succeeded. Some, unfortunately, have failed. But this particular movie is about somebody who is determined to get something that was taken from them back into their possessions. And they're not going to just sit there and take this lying down. They're going to go to court. They're even going to go off to where it all started. And we kind of shift into a little bit of both the past and the present day in hopes that this character will get back whatever it is that was taken from them. It hopes to get them back. You know, that's kind of like what this movie is about. So after the war ended, it was time for people to settle in and restore the heartbreak and injustices that took place in the 6 years they caused trauma, tragedy, lost loved ones, and to rebuild a new life for the citizens who survived and the next generation to come. Even though a lot has been forgiven, there is still events that will never be forgotten. Their anecdotes will be exhibited in museums, taught in schools, and read in books. Even in today's society, there are things that haven't been fully revived. A lot of stuff that had took place might be forgiven, but a lot of events that happened in the Holocaust can never be forgotten because it's just too sad, too tragic, and a lot of heartbreak that came. Some things can be repaired, can be refixed, can be rectified, and then there are just some things that can't. People had to flee their respective homes just to seek refuge in other parts of the world. Lives were lost. Families were separated. Homes were destroyed. And maybe by today's standards, a lot of these things can be could be forgiven, but they can't be fully forgotten. And even probably not everything can be fully forgiven. A lot of stuff is just totally unforgivable. And usually I'm a very forgiving person. If you've hurt my feelings or anything like, well, this isn't really about me. But I'm usually a very easy person to forgive. But just a simple, I'm sorry, I'll make it up to you, I'll give you as much commission as possible. No. A simple apology, a simple act of redemption, and a simple act of, I'll make it up to you, I'll give you restitution. These things can't be fully forgiven. And they can't be forgotten either. Maybe we could still go on and live our lives in peace and harmony and to ensure that nothing like this ever happens again. You know, like we can't change the past. But we can always look to the present and hope for the future. That's kind of like what this movie could be about. And this movie is about, you know, taking back something that was stolen and even going to courts just to get it. To this day, families who had been affected by the Holocaust are still in demand to restore things that have been lost and will never stop until justice is served. Many of these relics, artifacts, and personal property have been returned to their personal owners, Many of these treasures include paintings that were placed in museums and art galleries, while others are still in possession, just waiting to be claimed. Woman in Gold is the true story of an elderly lady who wants to return the titular portrait back to her family, though it's no easy task since it's been stored in a museum in Austria, which is where she was from. Helen Mirren stars as Maria Altman, a Jewish Holocaust survivor. She and her husband narrowly escaped Nazi-occupied Austria, abandoning her parents while migrating to the United States. Her family were aficionados in the world of and artistry. Her uncle sponsored paintings from Gustav Klimt, who had a painting of his wife, who died before the invasion commenced. During the Holocaust, the Nazis confiscated every precious belonging that her family owned. A lot of them were pretty expensive too. Her aunt's portrait is now residing at the Belvedere Museum in Austria, where it is being dubbed as a lady in gold. Cuts to several decades later, Maria, now pushing 80, wants to reclaim her aunt's painting, her portrait. So she hires a friend whose son's a lawyer, who goes by the name of Randy Schonberg, played by Ryan Reynolds, to take it to court in order to win it back, even going as far as to travel to her home country of Austria, where she's a bit reluctant to go back to seeing because of all the heartbreak that has caused, understandably so. But in order to make a claim that it is actually her aunt's portrait, you know, in order to make an accurate, direct claim, she's going to have to travel back to her home country to make sure to ensure that it is that it is legitimately hers, and that she's not just going to court for the sake of reclaiming a painting and for the money. Sure, it's going to be costly. Sure, there's going to be a lot of trials and tribulations, and this is not an easy task for neither her or Randy. But through the pairing of these two, she might probably get back something that was taken from her back in the 1940s during World War II and the Holocaust. This is not actually what you would call a conventional Holocaust story, because we're not seeing full Holocaust scenes. We're just seeing like small fragments of flashbacks. This is more of a courtroom drama than a Holocaust period piece film. There is flashbacks, sure, and the flashbacks are dark and harrowing like we would expect. But I think this is more or less a very overemphasized courtroom story, more or less. Though there are scenes told in the flashbacks about the horrific events that took place in World War II, and though there is a plethora of ground to be covered, it's more of a courtroom drama than it is as a Holocaust story. Many justices of the law were on hand during this trial, and lots of documents had to be in order for them to win their case. And though several decades younger than Maria, Randy's heartbreak comes through the stories his grandparents endured, while Maria saw Hitler's evil ways from an eye's view. Now, Maria and Randy are not just in this alone. They are also joined by an Austrian journalist who goes by the name of Hubertus Czernin, played by Danielle Bruhl, who arbitrarily offers his service, knowing full well about his family's bad legacy. The flashbacks reflect upon a young Maria through good times and bad ones, and are used to great effect, especially where the court battle marks her return to her country that she abandoned decades ago. And like I said before, she doesn't want to go back to her old country because of all the heartbreak that has caused. But I guess in order for this to be a real, legitimate, accurate, direct court case, she has to go back to prove that this woman in gold painting really is that of her aunt, in order to really finally give her her courtroom victory. She's not doing this for the money. She's not doing this for the fame. She just wants something that was taken from her. And we all hope and we all root that she gets it back. We can always depend on Helen Mirren to deliver a great performance. And her German accent is definitely spot on. It's not one of these over-the-top, oh, hello there, I am Professor Ludwig van Drake, and I'm here to conduct an experiment. No. She's not like just that goofy German accent that I just did just a while ago. No. She is, I mean, this is a serious movie. This is not a lighthearted comedy. But her accent was spot on, and it was fairly executed to perfection. Helen Mirren definitely delivers another great performance, another thing added to her impressive resume. The odd pairing she has with Reynolds seems natural, kind of almost a bit like a mother-son relationship, even though this is basically just a lawyer-client relationship. But I guess since he is a relative to her, though distant, this isn't really particularly an act of nepotism, because it's not like a real direct relative. It's not or like even her nephew or niece, but maybe just a few cousins twice removed or something like that. And it seems to play off more like a lawyer-client relationship, even though there's a lot of mother-son type of dynamics within the characters. But I guess that kind of makes sense since Ryan Reynolds is several years younger than Helen Mirren. Ryan Reynolds really played the lawyer like he was a professional lawyer, and I gotta hand it out to Ryan Reynolds for his performance in this movie. Normally, he often seems to see himself in comedies, though sometimes, yeah, he could also tackle other genres too, like, you know, superhero stuff like the Green Lantern, even though probably I would like to forget about that movie, and also movies like Van Wilder. Yeah, he also did the horror films like the Amityville reboot or remake. I really actually thought Ryan Reynolds did pretty well in a much more serious role, and he seems quite professional, very dedicated to his job, and is going to go to great lengths to help Maria get back her painting. Others in the supporting roles, Tatiana Maslany shows her inner orphan black character as the younger Maria, as she's on the run constantly. Her emotions were truly priceless. A lot of material is covered in Women in Gold, and everything seems to fall into place. If there's any weaknesses, the supporting characters may seem to be somewhat underdeveloped, It's kind of a bit of a disappointment that Katie Holmes wasn't really given much material. Same could be said for Jeremy Irons' son, Max. I mean, bright future for him, but he wasn't really given very much to do. I can't say it's the same for the other supporting characters like Charles Dance, Elizabeth McGovern, and Jonathan Pryce. So if there's a weakness there, that's probably where the weakness goes. I'm especially kind of like a little let down that Katie Holmes was given very little material to do. Yeah. But overall, I thought this movie stood out really good. I don't know if it's Oscar material because it wasn't really featured too much in the theaters during the time. But I think things were played out very well. Helen Mirren delivers as always. Ryan Reynolds, good to see him play a serious role. I mean, basically the main two were Helen Mirren and Ryan Reynolds. And I think everybody else was just real background stuff. Tatiana Maslany as the younger Maria during the flashback scenes brought in some of the more heartbreaking moments in the film. I gotta say, it was a different take on a Holocaust story because it's not a full-fledged Holocaust story. It's more courtroom drama, but the images seen during the Holocaust stuff is pretty dark. It's not. It's just this movie is not a heartbreaking, emotional tearjerker, but it's actually more of a movie that deals with the feeling of hope. I felt a lot of optimism within this movie. And, we all hope and root for Maria to get back her painting. I don't know. It feel like a big heel to put a spoiler alert. But in case people didn't see the movie or didn't want to see it, well, okay, here's the spoiler alert. She does get the painting back. She does win her case. She doesn't keep it in her home. Instead, she takes it to the New York Museum Metropolitan of Art. I don't know, did I pronounce that name right? I've never been there. But, yeah, she won the case. So, big congratulations to her. I really actually thought the directing was also really spot on. I thought the script was great. It was really, really well planned. The flashbacks were really good. They weren't overly melancholic, but at the same time, still gritty. The acting, like I said, was excellent. Got no complaints. So if I was to give this score out of 10, I would definitely give Woman in Gold. I can't give it a gold 10, but maybe a nice silver 9. That seems fair enough, is it? Of course. So I guess this ends my writer review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. But just remember the 3 simple rules. Be kind, be courteous, and please refrain from any rude comments. And I will be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric Writer saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.